Board of Regents regular meeting for today, February 24, 2026. We have a quorum present. And before we begin anything else, I want to announce we have a birthday today of one of our regents, Irene Hughes. Irene. Second. That's why you said you're making a paper. All right, well, happy birthday. Yeah, happy birthday. Welcome everyone for coming tonight. We've got a full house tonight. We've got a lot of cool things going on, a lot of neat presentations. So I look forward to getting right into this. We'll begin with our Pledge of Allegiance. If you'll please stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you very much. Next up, we have a prayer. And our prayer tonight is Sierra Shaban. Shaban. Sierra, welcome.
Yes, hello, good evening. Usually it's Bob who does the introductions for the student who does their prayer, but he's letting me have that honor now. So thank you, Bob. Appreciate that. Yes, so tonight we have Sierra Shaban. She is an education major and hopes to teach second grade once she completes her studies.
Good.
She is planning to transfer to Texas Tech, and she's in the Tech Teacher 2+1 program, and she'll be graduating next May. So really excited about her being a part of that program. She's a current vice president of the Teach Club, and she currently works as a nanny for two amazing kids. Her and her family love to travel, and she's on a mission to attend as many concerts as she possibly can. And her favorite concert so far has been Bruno Mars. So
Good one.
I know, it's like, if you don't know who that is, you're missing out on some good music. So here is Sierra.
Okay, if you'll please bow your heads with me. Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you so much for allowing us all to gather here tonight and to speak over you and your people and over this amazing school and program and all of the presentations that we have. I pray that you can speak through all of the speakers tonight as they present. And I just thank you again so much for allowing us all to be here. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Sierra. We really appreciate that. Next up is item number 5, public comments. Now is the time for anyone who may address the board on any item, whether it is on the agenda or not. If you wish to address the board, you must fill out a comment request card and hand that in before you speak. We hope we have all of those in right now. Remarks are limited to 3 minutes. Groups of more than 5 persons referencing the same topic may be asked to appoint one person to present their views before the board. Because of open meetings laws, the board may not discuss any topic not on the agenda and therefore will not respond to any remarks related to non-agenda items. The board may, but is not required to respond to agenda-related items. If your comment addresses a concern or complaint about a specific college employee or student, such complaints must be timely filed through the formal grievance process under college policy. If you have not attempted to solve a matter through the grievance process, you will be directed to the appropriate policy to seek resolution and may bring the matter to the board at a later meeting. I have 2 cards, and first up is Mr. Jesse Frimmer. Mr. Frimmer. Thank you for being here.
Well, thank you for allowing me to come up here.
Yes, sir.
I just have this question about this audit that we're having, and I've heard the story about Mr. Sharp and the thing that happened with him. And I was very curious about what was the resolution to compensate him for the fact that he was chosen to be removed because of the concern over the budget and some of the way money was being handled. And I was just wondering how we were going to deal with somewhat apologizing to him because we found he had done nothing really bad according to the audit. And that was my only curiosity was, is there some effort by the board to reconcile some differences in that way we handled him and that misunderstanding about the budget itself? Just a curiosity on my part as a citizen.
Okay.
Thank y'all.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Frimmer. I invite you to stay around for our presentation by the Weaver Audit Firm. I believe they will help bring such a matter to light and help you answer your own questions there. Thank you. You bet. Next up, we have Mike Fisher. Mr. Fisher, please. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. My name is Mike Fisher. I live in the city limits of Amarillo. And we're speaking about the forensic audit. The quote you said, Mr. Barrett, at the news meeting that we had the other day, you said there is no money missing. To me, money is missing when money that is expected to be there isn't there. Not stolen, not pocketed, but no longer available where it was supposed to be. They say if you put enough smart people in a room, you'll solve any problem. In government, you put enough smart people in the room, you can rename the problem. This audit discusses approximately 5.5 million in interfund transfers, effectively loans made to the bond fund. In plain English, the bond fund is not a revenue generating department. It doesn't produce income, it spends bond proceeds. So if unrestricted bonds or auxiliary funds are transferred into the bond fund, the obvious question is, what is the realistic payment source? If there is no dedicated repayment stream, then calling it a loan doesn't make it one of in substance. In the private sector, when you're out of money, you're out of money. In government, when you're out of money, you just change which column it's in. Let me use a simple analogy. Just checking my time here. If I loan $10,000 to my spouse, knowing full well I'll never ask for it back, but then I listed that $10,000 as an asset when I apply for a mortgage, technically I can say it's a loan receivable. But in reality, that money is gone. On paper, it exists. In practice, it doesn't. This is the concern here. It is a permanent transfer. And if it's permanent, then unrestricted reserves were reduced. That is money that was expected to be there, and it's not. So my question here is, what is the exact outstanding balance of interfund loans to the bond fund? I think I'm out of time here. You know, I just if you could, I know you don't let anybody go over for a second, but let me give you an example of what happened today, and maybe you guys could appreciate this. I went to the city council meeting, and I was totally against them buying BMW motorcycles. And I talked to the assistant police chief, and he talked me off of that ledge. And I went up there and I didn't talk about that. I just gave one sentence and I was okay with it. So I have a lot of information, a lot of questions, and maybe you guys could make me an honorary board member, and I could sit at that table with you guys, and maybe you could change my mind. So
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. We appreciate your comment.
All right.
Thank you very much. Next up, no more cards, correct?
I'd like to.
Okay, let's make sure we have the card. Let me see it. Is he filled it out? No, sir. Okay, we go on to the next item, our SG, item number 6, SGA.
Are you going to
report.
refuse me the right to
Kennedy
speak?
Juarez, SGA Vice President.
Hello?
The floor. You are not recognized, sir. Kennedy,
Okay,
please come
under
on
House
up.
Bill
Kennedy,
2840,
please come on up.
we have the right to
Kennedy.
speak at meetings like these.
Kennedy, please. I'm sorry, Kennedy. This is very rude of this individual. I apologize.
Are you going to refuse me the right
And
to speak here?
let's bring this to order. Next agenda item has been called number 6, Kennedy Juarez.
Don't make the student do this.
Hmm?
The student.
Hi, everyone.
Hang on, Kennedy.
Okay, I'll take
No.
that as you're refusing me once again for the third time to speak, regardless of House Bill.
Six. Kennedy, I apologize to you. Thank you so much for being here and presenting to us the SGA report. You are the SGA Vice President. Thank you very much.
Of course. Thank y'all for having me here again. I'm very excited to bring my report to y'all today. So I just want to start off with our agenda. We had Badger Connect, which went amazing. We had our campus clubs set up and ready to give out information to students who are interested in them. Personally, for our SGA chapter, we got some new prospective members, and we will be swearing them in tomorrow. So we are super excited to bring some new people into our club. Unfortunately, I didn't see any of y'all at our Mr. Gaddy's After Hours event. Y'all missed out on some fun. We had lots of fun. We had over 300 people in attendance. There was so much pizza, and there were even more arcade games for our students to play, and it was all for free. This was a huge hit, and I think all of our students enjoyed it. I didn't hear a bad thing about it, so that's good. Moving on to our upcoming events, I want to highlight our breakfast club. This is something that our current SGA officer team started this year. We wake up bright and early and we serve breakfast to our students on campus. For this breakfast club, we are going to be making and serving pancakes, and that'll be next Monday. Moving to upcoming SGA partnership events, we have our STEM career fair tomorrow. We are excited to be partnering with Career and Employment Services again to bring our students some STEM jobs and businesses for them to talk to and get more information if they want to go down that path. So that's exciting. And we will also be giving out free Subway sandwiches. It's always a hit. I'm also pleased to announce that we are now fully operational in our new campus location, the Student Life and Conference Center. We're calling it the SLAC, just makes it more fun and easy to say. This new location is at the center of campus, placing us at the heart of campus activity, providing us enhanced visibility, and being a welcoming hub for all of our students and the overall Amarillo College community. We are very grateful for this new space, and I think it's going to be amazing. So that is all I have for my reports. Thank y'all so much for having me again.
Thank you for being here again. Thank you. Good job. Well done. Next, we'll move to item number 7, our Regents reports, committees, and comments regarding AC affiliates. Starting with the executive committee report, which I bring tonight. We met an executive session for about 45 minutes. We discussed the audit report quite at length, as well as setting the board agenda. We also discussed some other matters such as Sharp and Iron Studios. We talked about that a little bit. And so that is our report. And we talked about this meeting to make sure that we had everything in place. Next up is the AC Foundation report. Mr. Mize, thank you.
Thank you, Jay. The Amarillo College Foundation met on Thursday, February 12th. And I guess the items of interest were the process report, and basically we'll see the same, I think pretty much the same report, which was on the update on financial effectiveness. And the treasurer's report financial statements, our assets are at 92 million for the foundation. Great. And we also had Angelique's our investment advisor that was there and presented our annual performance report. So that's it.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that, Mr. Mize. Next up, Ms. Fortunato, Amarillo Museum of Art.
Yes, the museum board met on February 19th, last Thursday. And I've mentioned the Christmas Roundup before to y'all, and they presented the check for Christmas Roundup from their huge fundraiser, and they presented us with a $125,000 check from the Art Alliance, which is super generous. Also, I told you that we had the gala back in January when we had the snowy weekend, and that's our big fundraiser, and that raised $57,000, which is consistent with prior years, which is great considering it's in the middle of a snowstorm. Very excited about this. As you know, it's the 100-year anniversary of Route 66, and the museum will be participating in that with a blockbuster exhibit that will somehow involve cars inside the building. So it's going to be super cool and very nostalgic. So you should try to be, I know, Dave. I know, we have structural engineers coming to check out the museum. This is an AC event. There is an event called Ignite the Arts, which will be on March 27th, which is done by the college, but it is in affiliation with the Museum of Art, and we host some of the events at the museum. So it's a good partnership between the college and the museum. And then, as I mentioned, the 20 by 20 is April 2nd. So be sure to get ready. Yeah,
ready to bid.
get ready to bid. All right, thank you.
All right. Thank you, Michelle. Next up, Panhandle PBS report. Peggy?
Panhandle PBS has retained J.C. Jenks with the nonprofit Connection to conduct a confidential feasibility
There you go.
study to access the station's readiness and potential success in launching a major gifts campaign. Study will give guidance to determine the direction the station moves forward in the year 2027 to 2028. In replacement of the federal CPB funds that were eliminated by Congress in 2025. The study will take place.
Zone or tiers 1. Dr. Woodburn, anything?
No report.
No report. Same thing for tiers 2. I don't believe they've met. And then tiers 3.
No report.
No report at this time. Very good. Thank you, Dr. Proffer. Standing policies and procedures, Net?
Report.
Okay.
Committee met last week to go over the updates on policy after the legislative session and House Bill 37 and whatever else was in there. It's a pretty extensive update. And so a lot of them we just marked that we're going to go back and review. So we're going to get the experts on the AC staff side to work with us and make sure we've got proper things there and make sure they're consistent throughout, because there are some policies that are reflected both in the student, staff, and community. And it's a bit of work, and we're gonna try to get them on the March or April meeting.
He's just nodding. I don't know what that
And
means.
smiles.
One of them.
And they will be coming to you soon.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that good work on the policy committees. Those are very important. Next up, Finance Committee met.
Finance Committee met last Tuesday.
Yes.
And we discussed the 2 audits that we'll be discussing this evening. So I think that's all I need to report.
I think so. Thank you so much, Johnny. Appreciate that. Next up, legislative affairs. We haven't had any meetings, no meetings yet. We'll get together later and start talking about the coming session that's coming up, and we'll get together on that. And then you'll have some things to report. Kat,
Yes.
Peggy, did you get some things to do? Okay, good. Thank you so much.
In
CATA stands
January-
for Community College Association of Texas Trustees, which is our statewide organization, by the way, if anyone didn't know that.
They did, in January, have the new orientation resources and survey for the new trustees. I was curious about it, and so I took the class. And they've changed some things up because of the new laws in Texas. And so they clarified that with everyone, and it was really a good training, and they sent all of us the PowerPoint in case we wanted to share it with
Excellent.
our board.
That
So
would be great. Anything else?
that's all I have.
Be looking for updates as we spoke today, because we really want to stay connected to CAT. That's where we learn best practice. That's where we rub shoulders with other people who are doing the same kind of work that we're doing. Our CEOs go there as well. So it's a really good organization. And thank you for taking the lead on that. Appreciate that. Nominating committee, any work?
No report.
No report at this time. All right. Next up, item number 8, President's Report, Dr. Jamel Connor.
Thank you. Region 16 is developing a Rural Pathway Excellence Partnership Program called RPEP, focused on computer information systems and cybersecurity pathways that utilizes the Amarillo College Moore County campus as a technology hub to deliver dual credit to 9 rural ISDs: Channing, Dalhart, Textline, Sunray, Canadian, Perrington, Booker,
Durazette.
I'm still learning all the names, and Follett. I knew I was going to butcher that.
From Florida.
I'm working on it. Students will have the opportunity to earn a level 1 IT foundation certificate, which includes a CompTIA certification and career readiness skills before earning a high school diploma. The program is called PRIME, Panhandle Rural Innovation for Meaningful Education. Last month, the Innovation Outpost delivered 19 courses through grant-funded programs, customized contract training, and open enrollment offerings, serving a total of 428 participants. This activity reflects strong regional demand for workforce-aligned training and the Innovation Outpost's continued responsiveness to employer and community needs. In addition to workforce programming, the Innovation Outpost collaborated with Academic Affairs and the Computer Information Systems Department to host evening academic courses, including Advanced Cloud Concepts and Advanced Computer Network Technology. The IO team also met with 11 different business leaders to learn what their specific training needs are to have a workforce skilled to do the work of today and be prepared for the work of tomorrow. This knowledge will be used to further develop the offerings delivered at the IO. Amarillo College is continuing to partner with Workforce Solutions and supporting employees affected by the Tyson layoffs to deliver curriculum that will get these folks upskilled quickly and ready for new jobs. We're working on a class for advanced manufacturing that can be completed in 10 weeks. Our AEL and GED program is also being innovative in developing a way to put their content into a 10-week format when it's typically at least 16 weeks to 1 year, depending on where the student tests. I'm so proud for all the ways that AC is stepping up to support our community in this way. Last week, 3 of our faculty members attended TCCTA, the Texas Community College Teachers Association Conference, where Dr. Robert Fulton and Professor Sarah Welshamer were featured speakers, and Dr. Chris Hudson served on a panel discussing Senate Bill 37 and faculty senates. We're proud to commend them not only for representing Amarillo College, but also for their leadership and the meaningful impact they continue to make at the state level. There was a delay by the Texas Higher Education Coordinating Board in dispersing college payments of state funding that was scheduled to occur in mid-February. They explained that there's been a significant increase in certain outcomes from the prior year, and they needed to further verify the accuracy of the data. Yesterday, they communicated that payments should now be received within the next several business days. However, they will only include 25% of previously planned or forecasted amounts for FY26 so as not to exceed FY26 appropriations. It will not include any normally scheduled positive adjustments to greater than projected outcomes or any adjustment to FY25 or FY26 data. We're set to receive $4.6 million in this payment. AC has been receiving other revenues, and this delay will not cause any impacts to our normal business. Tiffany will be providing the monthly financial report through December, but our operating cash through February 20th was sitting at $28.8 million. Our Phi Theta Kappa chapter at Amarillo College main campus has been named the 2025 REACH chapter. This designation recognizes chapters that excel in membership development, including scholarships and increased opportunities for engagement with peers and faculty across the campus. I want to give a shout out to our PTK advisors, Chris Prock and Jerry Peacock Nahara, for their time and dedication supporting such impactful experiences for our students. At the recent American Advertising Federation Awards held by our Amarillo chapter, our students were not only awarded a Gold Addy, which recognizes the highest level of creative excellence and is judged to be superior to all other entrants in its category, but also received a Special Judges Award, showing that our students didn't just meet the judges' expectations, they exceeded them. The awards were for the fall 2024 edition of the current magazine, and I have a couple of copies here that I brought in. In the category of magazine design, which includes the entire magazine design from cover to cover. They will now advance to the district competition where Amarillo College student media will compete against other top entries from across the region. Many of the students who worked on this award-winning issue have graduated and are working in the industry or have transferred to four-year universities. Congratulations to our student staff members, Valerie Salas, Maya Flores, Nick Garcia, Alejandra Garcia, Lupita Lupercia, Foster Connor, Raina Bruce-Nuckel, and William Nees, as well as our AC student media advisors, Madison Fowler, John Brickson, and Brian Frank. The AC baseball season is in full swing, unintended.
Oh,
I know, a little.
how do you say that D word?
I wanted to highlight the great work of the foundation. They saw a need to supply meals for our athletes during doubleheader games. Several groups have volunteered to support our players in this way, including the foundation team itself, parents, foundation board members, and some of our own regents. So a thank you to Michelle, Paul, and Johnny that have helped out there as well. Some highlights of meetings and connections from our last meeting. I accepted a request from SACS to serve on an offsite reaffirmation committee for 2 institutions. That work will take place virtually, primarily in March and April. The foundation has held several successful events in the past month, including a Keep Us Live Donor Appreciation Dinner and a Love Our Donors Appreciation event, which was held at our West Campus, where guests were able to tour our amazing simulation center. The Jam with Love concert hosted by our AC faculty was so fun, and there was a large audience that filled up our concert hall. I was honored that Beth Duke asked me to speak at a recent Rotary Club West meeting. I was able to give them updates on the strength of our enrollment and retention rates, the interest in Badger Bound and resulting increases in dual credit enrollment, and the status of our strategic planning work. Rowan and her boyfriend Dustin were visiting at the time, and the club was gracious enough to welcome them and Martin to attend that meeting as well. Last week, PBS hosted their Lights, Camera, Murder fundraising event. In addition to the fabulous AI-generated photos for the guests, the evening was a huge success with a packed room, great food, and lively excitement while each table tried to solve all the clues. PBS will be working to host another similar event in December. And in continuing to gather input from stakeholders on developing our new strategic plan, I facilitated a workshop with faculty in January at our ACES Professional Development Day, and then held another workshop for staff last week. We're planning for a community forum as well as a student focus group as we continue to gather input from all constituents on our new strategic direction. More details coming soon on that. And thank you all for the great guidance you provided on our next strategic plan at last month's board meeting. And that's my report.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that report, as we all do. Just to let you know, we recently did a survey of items that we have on our agenda to try to maybe an effort to streamline some things. Dr. Connor's report was at the top of the things that we really will not get rid of because you tell us so much about what's going on. Did I hear you correctly in saying they delayed giving us our funding because basically they couldn't believe how well we had done?
Yes.
Pretty much. That's good. That's good. As long as they keep giving us money. And that's a direct result of House Bill 8, which Amarillo College was definitely well positioned to help get in place. It's really good when you get funding for the good work that you're doing, the outcomes that you have. Next up is item number 9. I don't know if anyone is in the room who's really interested in this at all, but this is the official public swearing in of Amarillo College Chief of Police. The item is placed on the agenda for Elizabeth A. Brown, retired captain of Amarillo Police Department, to take the oath of office for the Amarillo College Police Department pursuant to the Texas Constitution, Article number 16 and number 1. I don't know what that little squiggly thing is. Section 1, of course, Section 1. All right, Allie, take it away.
I, Elizabeth A. Brown,
I, Elizabeth A. Brown,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will faithfully execute the duties
that I will faithfully execute the duties
of the office
of the office
of Amarillo College Chief of Police
of Amarillo College Chief of Police
of the state of Texas
of the state of Texas
and will to the best of my ability preserve,
and will to the best of my ability preserve,
protect,
protect,
and defend the Constitution
and defend the Constitution
and laws of the United States
and laws of the United States
and of the state,
and of the state.
so help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Chief, go ahead, Allie.
Board members, I'm proud to present to you the Chief of Police of Amarillo College, Chief Elizabeth Brown.
Yay. Chief Brown, please feel free to say a few words.
Thank you, sir. I want to thank my amazing husband and my 2 children. You guys are the love of my life and joy brings me every single day, my purpose and my strength. Thank you to all of my friends and family that are here. You have truly supported me and helped me along this amazing journey. And to all of my brothers and sisters in blue that are here, your dedication has inspired me every single day to be a better leader, a better servant, and a better police officer. To the board and to the leadership of Amarillo College, it is truly an honor to contribute to an organization so deeply committed to student success. Thank you so much for your trust.
Thank you so much. Appreciate that. I will remind the audience that everyone has to stay for the duration of the meeting, especially the minutes. Please feel free to make your way out while we get on to our minutes. Everybody take a look at the minutes. Thank you all for being here. And there's a couple of good-looking boys right there. Man.
Emptied the room out a bunch.
Air conditioner work now. That's awesome. That's awesome. That's great. Lots of support. So I will get on to item number 10, the minutes of the special board first of January 28, 2026. Do I hear a motion for that? Okay. Okay, David, second. Okay. All right, Irene. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed with no? Next, we'll look at the minutes for February 2nd. They've been provided to you. I'll entertain a motion on that.
Move for approval.
Ned?
Second.
Okay, Michelle, any comments, questions? All in favor of that motion, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed by no? All right, thank you very much. Consent agenda items, number 11, appointments and budget amendments. Any discussion?
I move consent agenda.
Second. All right. Second. Okay, thank you, Johnny. I appreciate the second. Any other discussion? All in favor of that motion for consent agenda, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed with no? All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Next up, item number 12, Amarillo College appointment to tax increment reinvestment zone tiers 2 board of directors. This item is placed on the agenda so that the board may wish to appoint Denise Skinner to the Tax Increment Reinvestment Zone 2 Board of Directors. She will be in that position temporarily pending the outcome of Mr. Betancourt's legal matters. And so I would entertain a motion on that. Do we have to have a motion on that?
I move.
Yes. Okay.
Move.
Okay, David, and second by Annette. Any discussion? I will say that this is maybe our first board like this where we don't have a sitting board member on that, but we feel like that we could appoint anyone. We could appoint anyone to this. And we feel like Denise Skinner will do a fantastic job for us in representing our interests. And we couldn't be happier for you to accept this nomination. Good. Okay. All right. All right. All in favor of that nomination, signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed with? All right. Thank you so much. Thanks for keeping us informed. All right. Next up, we have a series of items related to our finances. First up will be our regular independent audit report for 2024 and 2025. We have representatives from Whitley Penn. They will present the regular audit report for the fiscal year ending August 31, 2025. Everyone has had a copy of that. And welcome to the platform. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Tell us your name, sir.
Good evening. My name is Addison Ebar with Whitley Penn. I was the senior manager on the engagement and worked closely with Tiffany and her team.
Good.
Good evening to the board president. Again, thank you for having me. We'll take a trip through the results of the financial statement audit as well as the single audit for fiscal year ended 2025.
Okay.
Sorry. Okay. Thank you. All right, so items on the agenda for this evening's presentation. We're going to go over the overview of the audit scope and what all went into the audit procedures, and then the financial statement results, as well as the federal and state single audit results, and then look at some key takeaways and take any questions at the end. So regarding the audit scope and approach, the objective of our engagement is to provide reasonable assurance that the financial statements are free of material misstatements and not provide absolute assurance. The audit was conducted under both generally accepted audit principles as well as governmental auditing standards, so that extra level of yellow book assurance there. Also, we do provide assurance on the compliance with major federal and state program requirements in accordance with the federal single audit and Texas grant management standards. The key focus of using our materiality and risk-based approach, we did flag revenue recognition as a significant area, as well as any compliance related to those state and federal single audit programs, which we'll go over in a few slides. Now, to take you through the audit process, it starts out with our planning and risk assessment. This is lots of emails back and forth with Tiffany and her team, and looking at preliminary numbers, budgets, and also just what's going on in the industry and the environment. And that really helps us guide any changes for our audit procedures from year to year. And then from there, we gain an understanding of internal controls and also perform internal control testing over significant or key audit areas, and then as well for the state and federal major programs for the year. And then next, we move into substantive testing. This is really what most people think of within an audit. It's tying down to support. Used to be paper documents, now lots electronic, but bank statements, third party confirmations, those types of things, really substantiating the numbers that will ultimately be presented on the financial statement. And then it brings us to the opinion and issuing the audit report. Now, the financial statement audit results did result in an unmodified, or what's considered a clean opinion. As I mentioned, these financial statements were audited under both GAAP and GAS, and they are fairly presented according to the Government Accounting Standards Board. We noted no material weaknesses, no material misstatements, and no instances of non-compliance that were required to be reported. Now, financial statement key observations. We did look at policies, procedures, accounting records, and made sure they were appropriate within industry standards. Also did testing over the effectiveness of internal controls, as I mentioned. This was mainly related to expenses, AP, and payroll, both sides of your main expenses there, and testing the operating effectiveness of those internal controls so that ultimately we can use that in our risk assessment and report back under those government auditing standards. Any estimates that were made by management were deemed appropriate. Again, the policies were in line with industry standards. For the federal single audit results, our major program for the federal side was the student financial aid cluster. Makes up about 87% of total federal revenues, as you can see there. The major programs are selected each year on a rotational basis, as well as also recommendations from the OMB compliance supplement. The federal program for student financial aid did receive an unmodified opinion on compliance for the major program, no findings and no material weaknesses, and the schedule of expenditures of federal awards was presented accurately and timely. You can see there the direct and material compliance requirements that we tested through relating to the student financial aid cluster. And these are guided by the Office of Management Budget and their compliance supplement, and ultimately what they decide is appropriate to test regarding these funds. For the state single audit results, our major program this year was TEOG. You can see it makes up about 80% of total state awards. This also received the unmodified or clean opinion on compliance with the major program, with no findings of question costs and no material weaknesses, and that schedule of state expenditures prepared accurately and timely as well. The direct material compliance requirements there coming from the Texas grant management standards. We do perform control testing over all of these direct material compliance requirements, as well as compliance testing to ensure that funds are expended appropriately. Now, to look at the statement of net position, and you can see here we have a comparison from 24 to 25, as well as that comparison back from 23 to 2024. I'll note you can see on the asset side that the total capital assets continue to increase with the non-capital decreasing really in relation there as funds were expended and then ultimately capitalized into capital assets. For liabilities, you see a good decrease there, both in the long term and short term, as bond payments are made and other liabilities paid down. And you can see the ending net investment capital assets with an increase, again, related to that increase up above in the total assets, capital net of depreciation and amortization. And then leaves the restricted and unrestricted net position. For the statements of revenues and expenditures and changes in net position, it's pretty small there, but I could point out from the operating revenues side, really saw a decrease in some of those grant funds, just as those are starting to become less and less common. But down in the non-operating revenues, it made up for it in the state appropriations there. Overall expenses did increase about $3 million, but nothing too significant overall, especially with the inflation and prices and everything that we're seeing these days. Now, to look at the pension and OPEB liabilities, and I'll just mention this is the college's proportionate share of the net pension and OPEB liabilities. It does not represent a cash liability to the college. And you can see it's remained consistent there, the three pieces, the pension, OPEB, and then the total there combined. But year over year, it's remained pretty consistent, and all that's reported through the third-party agencies. Revenues by source. I was looking at this compared to prior year and really stayed in line for the most part, besides, like I mentioned, that swing between the state appropriations and the actual state and federal grants and contracts. But outside that, pretty similar. Your main components being the grants and contracts, state appropriations, and then property taxes. The expenses by function, again, I looked at this as a comparison to prior year and really only had probably a 2 to 3% swing in any of the categories. Main ones being there in instruction, institutional support, and I'll also just point out the small portion for really general operating, which is always positive to see that the money is going back to the students and towards the education. And with that, I will take any questions.
Questions? I've got a lot of questions.
Okay.
I think that maybe the question is, what do you want to achieve in this conversation?
Do you have any questions about his report or anything?
Yeah, I got a lot of questions.
Okay.
And that's why I wanted to try to get a hold of him prior to, just because I think it's going to take a whole lot of time. I guess just in a general sense. Now, does anyone else have questions?
I have one comment, but
go ahead.
Well, page 96, I questioned the information you had on in-district and out-of-district fees. It was the in-district was higher than the out-of-district, which doesn't make sense.
On the page 96, okay. I'll have to look into that and can get your response.
It's a small thing.
Okay.
Your turn.
Well, I don't want to take our time unnecessarily. That was my point. I think the real issue is well, maybe let me just start with this. Have you read the Weaver forensic audit report?
I have not. No, sir.
Okay. It's hard for me in my mind to reconcile. I mean, I see our audit results and I see that we've got a real clean audit. It seems hard to imagine we would have that clean of an audit with the Weaver report right beside it. So that led me to really get, I guess, into the weeds on a lot of this report. So that's my point. And so
yes, and most of that's going to be related to the scope of the audit. As I mentioned, I think on maybe the second or third slide, the scope of our engagement is really just ensuring that the financial statements are not materially misstated. We're not necessarily performing testing over all the transactions and those types of things. And so
your
it would
focus
really
was
just be the scope of the audit.
Was on the TEOG and the student financial aid piece, yeah. Which was different than.
And also on the overall financial statements, but again, not necessarily at the transactional level, just ensuring that as they're presented, they're not materially misstated.
I saw in an earlier slide, you did a lot around procedures and controls, and you didn't find anything there. Were you not involved in any of the same transactions? You didn't, did you look at any of the bond transactions or any of that?
We, for the focus of the audit for the bond and transactions related, we really look at the liability side, obviously, because that's what needs to be presented accurately. And then at the transaction level, it really just depends whether it's coming across those procurement thresholds related to those single audit programs. But outside of that, we aren't really on the transactional level.
Yeah, I got a lot more questions, but they're individual, like very detailed. So my point is maybe, do we want to go through all of those, or do we want to maybe postpone this discussion or maybe approval of this or acceptance of this until maybe we've had a chance to do that? I throw that out to the group. I mean, we can sit here for a couple of hours and go through all of my questions, or we can try to do it in a more efficient way.
Do we need to approve the audit tonight for any particular reason? So we could postpone approval, and then maybe the finance committee could see, usually we Zoom with the auditor before we're in here, and we didn't do that this time. So we didn't have a chance to talk, to you with some of these questions. So perhaps we could postpone today and then get with him on a Zoom and go through the questions that.
Would that be possible?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, myself.
I think that would be
partner
good. We could do that.
Meet whenever's good.
Significant questions. I'm not.
To share the questions with you. I just didn't want to have to waste everybody's time. So that's all I was trying to
We
do.
just don't vote on it.
Could you submit the questions via email, and you start looking up responses, and then that way it would expedite that discussion when it is the Zoom that we can set up?
Yeah, that
Would that work?
Yes, yes.
I need your contact information to get that, so that'd be good.
Okay.
It should be on this slide, but I can also get.
It is on the slide.
To send it over as well.
Right.
All the rest of us.
So, is everyone in favor of doing that? Just
Yeah.
good.
Motion to table.
No, it's not a motion to table.
No, just we
Just
want
don't take a vote on it.
Just postpone.
take a vote, not tonight, but next month. Next month. When would we want a regular finance committee? Because we got a lot of things to discuss there too.
Yeah,
So
so
I think
let's
some
do,
other
another-
time.
set up some meeting.
Yeah.
Ally to
Yep,
get
we will.
organized. Yeah.
Anything else right now? Anybody else have a question? Thank you so much. I know this is some kind of difficult at this point. I
No,
get it. I get
completely
it.
understand.
So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate your patience with us.
Thank
And
you.
thank you so much. All right. All right. Awesome. Right. Next up, our item number 14, our forensic audit report. This item is on the agenda in order for a representative of Weaver and Tidwell. We have two representatives tonight to present its final report on the forensic examination investigation of the college's finances for the 2019 to 2025 period. This report has been provided to the Regents and the general public. Everyone should have a copy of that available since been on the website since February 18th, 2026. Gentlemen, if y'all would introduce yourselves to us and then take it away.
Okay, good evening, Board President Barrett, Dr. Connor, members of the board. My name is Travis Kasner. I'm a partner with Weaver in the Forensics and Litigation Services practice, and I'll let my colleague introduce himself.
My name is Blake Bogdan. I'm a manager in the FLS services of Weaver, CPA in the state of Texas, and CFE certified fraud examiner as well.
Okay, all right, thank you.
And we're here tonight to present the findings for the forensic audit. And we have the summary of the report in these slides, and then we have the report itself, and we can answer any questions that people have. Just to talk about the scope of work. So Weaver was engaged in October of last year through outside counsel to conduct this forensic audit. This was conducted independently. We haven't shared this report with any of the board members up to this point. The scope of work covered the 2019 to 2025 time period. And there's really four key components that are listed here. The first is to analyze the college's bank account and investment account activity. We also looked at the monthly financial reports that were presented to the board, as well as reconcile those financial reports to the bank and investment account records. We also looked at the bond program expenditures that were associated with the construction projects included in the master plan, including the sources and the uses of the bond funds, and we'll talk about those in detail. And then we also performed a digital forensic review of the email data for the college's former vice president of business affairs, Chris Sharp. And so that was our scope. Blake is going to talk about the findings, and then we'll talk in more detail about specific aspects of it.
Okay, so to give a general overview of everything we discussed in the report, we have condensed our findings down into 6 key points. All of these are straight from the report, so they should seem familiar if you've read it. If you want more details, they are also in the report. Please read it if you have not done so already. There's plenty of information that we spent a lot of time and hard effort on that we'd love to see you guys read. So point 1, all funds are accounted for, no funds were found to be missing, and no payments were found to be made to unknown vendors. This is based on our review of 1, Amarillo College accounting records, which would have included general ledger extracts as well as vendor invoice payment records and reports generated from those general ledger extracts. The other piece would have been straight account statements of Amarillo College from their bank and investment accounts as well. Item 2, the bond program projects cost more than anticipated. The scope of these construction projects expanded over time. This is a common theme we were seeing in the documentation and communications we were reviewing from Chris Sharp's email. Number 3, construction manager costs were more than anticipated because the master program plan manager contract was renegotiated and increased without the approval of the Board of Regents. That's really the reason why we're here, but to double check, we checked board meeting minutes as well and communications with Mr. Sharp as well. And that was the finding. 4, cost increases, the expanded scope of projects and renegotiation of the master program plan manager contract were not adequately communicated to the Board of Regents. Like I mentioned, we double checked everything with board meeting minutes during the period of analysis and nothing was brought up. 5, these increased expenses were paid primarily out of Amarillo College's unrestricted funds. When we say unrestricted funds, we mean local maintenance and auxiliary fund accounts held by the college. And finally, point 6, the payment of these costs out of unrestricted funds was not adequately and timely reported to the Board of Regents. You can see a theme here. Nothing was showing up in the board meeting minutes as we were going through those. So we've pulled a couple of reports and tables from the report itself to give a little bit of context behind some of the more important points that I discussed. We're going to start off with the monthly financial reports presented to the board as compared to Amarillo College's actual account balances presented on the statements. So again, this is straight from the report. This graph compares the bar chart portion, which is the actual balances of Amarillo College's bank and investment accounts over time from the statements. So that is actually what Amarillo College held at any given time, as compared to the gray line, which depicts what Mr. Sharp was presenting to the board during regular board meetings. As you can see, it's fairly accurate. Nothing that he was presenting to the board was necessarily inaccurate. There was a general downtrend over time, as you can see, and then the main point we want to bring up is that those presentations stopped around May of 2025. We were not aware of any reason as to why those stopped. So
A question.
Question. So do you want us to ask questions as you're going or wait till the end or?
I think wait till the end and we can take it all.
So I know what you're gonna ask. Hold it.
All right, I'm gonna pass it back to
Question
Travis.
asked.
And one thing I wanted to mention too is, it says on the slide, the analysis of unrestricted funds. So these are the local maintenance and the auxiliary enterprises accounts. So there's bank accounts, and then there's also investment accounts, and then funds that are held in text pools. So those are the dark green, the light green bar. So those are really what we're talking about as unrestricted funds, which represents the funds that are available to the university for operations. So it would not include things like, the foundations funds from donations. It wouldn't include the bond funds, which are restricted for use of the bond program. So this is really the local maintenance and the auxiliary enterprise funds. And one thing I forgot to mention from the beginning, so Weaver is a public accounting firm, and so we have offices across the country. And Blake and I, in our forensics group specifically, we do primarily focus on forensic audits for public sector entities. So local, state, federal government, as well as a number of higher education institutions. So this is really the type of engagement that we do. So we've done dozens of these for the last 5 years. Shifting to the kind of second main section of the report is the master plan and the 2019 bond program. So we put this chart, which I know is small. It's also going to be found on let me find the page number. This is the report on page 10 of 21 of the report. So, but I think it's important just to walk through this so you can see the inflows and the outflows. So the bond program was approved by the community in 2019. It was 89.2 million bond proposition. So there was two issuances. There was 31 million in FY 2020 and then the 58 million in 2022. So that's the base of the funds. And then there was additional funds that were added to this to cover costs. So these are, I'm just going to go down the list based on the dollar amount. But the first is the transfers from the Amarillo College Foundation of 5.4 million. So those were authorized. We have, reviewed the memos showing that the president of the foundation authorized those to be released at the request of Mr. Sharp. And those are specific donations from individuals and entities for construction purposes. So those would be allowable. And those were envisioned as part of this, that there would be donations needed to cover some of the additional costs. So that's 5.4 million was from that source. The next one is reimbursement from CARES funds of a little over 4 million. So after COVID, the college received $19 million in funds related to the CARES Act for COVID response. The board approved the allocation of 4 million of those 19 million to be used for HVAC specific projects within the bond program. So those again is supported by the board approval and then were eventually transferred in 2023. The next one is the transfers from the Auxiliary Enterprises Fund of 3.6 million. So these primarily happened once the bond funds ran out due to the increased costs. These were not authorized through a board approval or a budget amendment. These represent funds that are in that category of unrestricted funds. And from talking with finance personnel, I think the understanding was, these were needed to pay the bills, and the intent was to replenish the funds once available. But, I think the question that prompted this is, why did the colleges, why were the reserves depleted or why were they reduced? And so this speaks to that, is funds were being pulled from different sources to pay for some of these bond costs. There was interest earned with the bond proceeds that were being invested in text pool and short-term investments with CDs and such. That was 3.6 million. There was also a an EDA grant that was related to the innovation hub post that represented about 1.5 million that was received by the college, and then it was transferred into the bond proceeds account. And then there was also about 950,000 that was transferred from local maintenance, and this is kind of a net of number of transfers, but it mostly relates to 2025 once the money ran out. So there was similar to the auxiliary enterprises transfers, there wasn't board approval or budget amendments to support those. So all of those inflows represent 108.3 million, and then we saw that there was 108.2 million that was expended for payments to the vendors and contractors for the cost of construction. So we have a slide here that talks about those in detail. This is a summary slide of the largest vendors, and I think it cuts off at around I can't see it, so I'm going to find the exact chart in the report, but it's on page 15. So these are all the ones over $150,000 where funds were expended. But the appendix B that's referenced in the report has the entire list of transactions. So there was 978 payments. We looked at the bank statements to confirm that the funds went where they went. And this is the summary. So the largest, not surprisingly, are going to be the construction managers. And then you have the architectural engineering firms. And then you also see Danny K. Smith is about a third of the way down. He received 1.7 million. And we will talk about that here on this next slide. So we also, is part of our scope and part of the bond program expenditures, we reviewed the payments to DK Smith, which was Danny Smith, and this was to serve as the master plan program manager for the bond program. So he was engaged through the college in 2020. There was an initial contract that was approved by the board. And you can see it on this chart in February of 2020. There was a set amount of $13,583 per month for 3 years. And then what we see is that there was a handful of increases and amendments to that contract, none of which were approved by the board. Most notably in February 2023, Mr. Smith, and from what we determined in negotiation with Mr. Sharp, restructured the terms of the contract such that the payments, instead of being a fixed monthly fee, were going to be 3% of total construction costs for that month. So that resulted in, the cost increase, the payments going from $14,000 a month to, as high as $45,000 per month. So more than tripling the amount. And again, without the board approval or the board's knowledge. And then there was some subsequent amendments that also were not approved by the board that carry through September 2025. But I think the key point here, the bottom bullet point on the slide, so the amount that was paid to DK Smith above, the amount approved by the board, if we assume that amount was in place through September 2025, was $760,000. So that was, again, contributing to the increase in the bond program expenditures, which are summarized in this slide. So this is the budget amount, starting with the master plan from 2019, the amounts by project. And this is also in the report on page 18. And so this really shows the evolution of the 88.6 million original plan, which increased in April of 23 to 88 million. And then by October 2023, it was 95.2 million. By September 2024, it was 106.4 million for the budget. And then based on the information, the latest version of this budget spreadsheet that we received as of October 2025, it was 111.7 million. So 26% increase from the original budget, but also the last update to the board was April 2022, where there were, and by update, I mean where there was a substantive update about here are the costs for the program in detail to the board. So the board, had that information. None of that, the board didn't receive any of those updates after April 2022. And you can see the last four columns are all budget increases that happened after that. So 23, 24, 25. And so as a result, there was no opportunity for some of these projects could have been, re-envisioned, redesigned, that was not brought to the board. These were based on spreadsheets that Danny Smith provided to Mr. Sharp, but did not make it to the board. So the transparency, the lack thereof, is really an important piece of our findings. So I think with that, we can take any questions.
Okay. Questions, Michelle? You want to start?
Yeah, I was going to ask about that chart on page
6, I believe.
6, that showed when we quit getting the construction reports. So we were still getting financial reports, but not for the construction funds, right? Isn't that right?
Yeah, these are the standard where you see the, almost a net position where you have the restricted cash and cash equivalents, restricted, unrestricted breakout. Yeah, that was, yes, those were the figures.
They were referred to as preliminary financial statements as they're reported based on what we were reviewing. Theoretically, the expenses would have been included in there somewhere.
But they
But they were not there.
Not explicitly called out. Okay.
And those would only have reflected the expenditures to date, so it wouldn't indicate that the budget.
It wasn't a budget, right?
111 million.
Right. And so when you say that the unrestricted fund balance started to decline in fiscal year 2023, I can't tell on that chart about what month was that starting.
And it's a little bit tricky because of the seasonality of the revenues, and so there's kind of a bell curve for each year. But if you compare the, kind of the peaks and the troughs, I guess, to use statistical terms, there's really the peaks of 23 compared to 22, so that would be the
February, March.
Yeah.
23.
Yeah.
February, March. Okay, thank you. And in your 6 findings, one of them was that the scope of the projects expanded. What do you mean by expanded? So did we start doing projects that weren't part of the plan, or did the projects themselves change? Like, what does expanded mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you look at this, Mike's gonna pull it up, but this is the slide that shows the budget by project. So we mentioned a few of these specifically in the bullets of the report, but it's a combination of there were certain facilities that weren't envisioned in the original master plan that were added. There was also increase of specific projects as far as square footage or just the design plans, which were not finalized back in 2019. So, for example, the first responder training facility originally in the master plan had a budget of 8.6 million. And then it ended up being 22.7 million. Now, some of that is going to be related to, during the pandemic, there was supply chain increases of materials. We didn't go in and quantify how much was related to this or that, but, it was, some of these is maybe related to design changes, but then there's just, trying to find a good example of.
Well, I think that's a pretty good one, because I think we started out thinking that that was going to be on the East Campus, right? And then we bought the building over here on Western, and it was a completely different project, but it was all for the first responders. It's just we changed the vision for where that was going to be. Okay.
And
I think that's a good example. I mean, yeah, if
I
that's
think-
what you mean by expanded, yeah.
Yeah, and I also think that I think that the objective, or I think the goal was to raise additional funds or more than 5.6 million. Obviously, it's not known how much is ultimately gonna be raised, but I think that there was maybe a target of as high as 10 million, but we saw that there was 5.6 million. That was ultimately,
Where'd you get that, the 10 million?
that's a good question. I think that there was some internal communications, emails that we came across.
I think that's
That right?
we saw that.
Okay.
That was on your report.
Correct. So, right. So as part of the campaign, there was 10 million raised. Some of that is still coming in as, yes,
As
as
pledges.
pledges that we'll be seeing. And that was part of my November report of that will still come in to finish the costs as the project's still finishing.
Relating to the emails, you'd mentioned the emails, but there wasn't anything in the report about the emails. Do you have that list of emails? Who he was talking to? Did anybody approve anything? How did this, was it just him and nobody else knew about it or what?
So we did look at the emails and the findings about that the board was not made aware. That's based on, that our review of those. We did not include those. We provided those, to outside counsel, and that was part of the investigation that I believe is going to be discussed in more detail at a later date. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
But do you have that? Can it be made available to us?
The emails, I think if we get authorization to provide those, we certainly can. We just want to make sure we're not handing over something that's, privileged or confidential, but if we're asked to provide any documents we've received, we're obligated to turn those over.
Are you gonna go around the table or you just want?
I'm just open it up for anyone who would like to ask questions.
Find any reason why the payments to Danny?
I think that there was some discussions about the I guess level of effort being more than anticipated. The initial designs, may not have been as developed as, and he includes some of that in his actual contract letter. So that's where I'm pulling that from, but I think that the level of work, at least as he claimed in that letter, was more involved, and that was, presumably, why they pivoted to that structure.
I think you find once that Mr. Sharp surely you're going to see the significant increase from a flat monthly rate to a percentage of expenses. Did you see it once the initial change was made, that there was any effort to go back to Mr. DK Smith and say there's been an explosion of we need to talk about that and come back. Was there any effort to call that back or come back and renegotiate a different, instead of 3%, but 1% or 2% or something less?
So there, in the emails that we saw, there was Mr. Sharp did ask Danny Smith to provide an estimate of what would that look like, and I think there was an email where he said that would be about 400,000 for like the next 10 months. So, which is about what we saw, about 40,000 per month. And so I think that was known, before.
So Mr. Smith's estimation of what the increase would be was fairly well represented prior to a renegotiation.
Because by 2023, most of these projects were under contract with the construction managers, so those scheduled payments are pretty well determined at that point.
When the report stopped being presented to the board, Who, who puts that on the agenda? Was it Mr. Sharp that put it on the agenda? Or how did president or?
We still had financial reports on the agenda after that. It was, some of the data wasn't there.
Are you talking about the monthly financial package that stopped in May of 25?
We had monthly financials after that. I went back and looked at our agendas.
Didn't they stop about October though?
No,
We stopped
was
getting
a-
the reserve report.
The reserve reports.
Yeah.
And that was what we were really following, that really let us know. Because those are restricted, in my view, they're restricted based upon board approval. And so, we knew what we had in that, and then that's the, and even looking at your graph, that's what, that's when our funds really started dropping at the same time. So coincidentally, or maybe not.
Yeah, I think the bond funds essentially
I had 3 questions.
ran out in about May, June of 25, and that's where the transfers from the auxiliary funds and a lot of those transfers came in that 3-4 month period starting in May of 2025.
Annette, you have 3 questions?
I don't know if you looked for this or not, but do we have in place things that indicate when things are supposed to come to the board for approval?
So there's a policy that discusses that there should be some kind of criteria for a budget amendment, and so we know that there are budget amendments. We see the budget amendments in the monthly financials, but we didn't see any that related to any of these, transfers. And so there should be, if there's not, there should be some kind of formal guidelines for what qualifies as a budget amendment that should go to the board.
You have a table full of really dedicated board members. What should we have done differently to be aware of these things?
We watched some of the videos, and we obviously looked at the minutes, so we're not aware of every conversation, especially if it happened in closed session.
Sure.
But from what we, observed from reading through the minutes, there were discussions about the bond program after 2022, but they were high level. They were talking about projects being on schedule or being behind schedule but nothing. And even if there was some, high level cost information, it would have been project specific and not something that summarized, here's where we're at. And so, I think that there's, my understanding is that this is already underway, but, some kind of standardized dashboards that can provide, the same type of reporting. So you see it each month and can really see what, if you had a dashboard of that bond program in 2019 that said, here's the cost to date, here's the budget. I think that would make it an easy way to be transparent, so the board has awareness as well as the community. So I think the chart, maybe if you go to your chart, you can.
Yeah, so when it comes to our analysis of what was actually in Amarillo College accounts versus what was being reported, that does go to the end of 2025.
You did go all the way
Yes.
through that.
Yeah.
Good, perfect. Looking at page, I mean, do you want me to go through detailed pages now, or do we want to do this again on another
Let's do it
Zoom?
now.
Yeah.
Do it.
On page 10, there's two reports. You've got the bond proceeds bank account, sources and uses of funds, and then you have the other chart that has bond proceeds accounts, sources and uses of funds. There's a couple of these lines that have different numbers.
And just to back up, so on page 9, it's the sources and uses of the investment account, which will have, the text pool and the CDs. And then the top one on page 10 is the sources and uses of the bond proceeds bank account. And then the bottom one on page 10 is the combination. So for purposes of really summarizing, here's, the bond proceeds is really those two accounts combined. And so what's the combination of those two charts is the paragraph C code.
So the last one is the one that we need to,
Both.
that's the
investment
combined
and the
one?
bank Combined, so
Got
you
it.
see that there are some, so if you look at the reimbursement from CARES funds, line 3.
Yep,
So that's 4.1 million, and that's because there was 2.3 million that was transferred at the text pool account level, and then there was also 1.7 million that's transferred from the checking account level, and so that's why there's different, but combined they make that 4.1 million.
okay. Then on the next page, 11, there's the transfers that are noted that are coming from the Amarillo College Foundation bank account. It went to local maintenance first, and then we transferred it into bond proceeds. Is that a normal process, or is that because it says correction up here in the detail, and I was just
So from what we understood in talking to the business office, that there was, I think, one that had a correction, they, essentially transferred it to local maintenance instead of bond funds, it was immediately reversed and money was sent. But then I think when the college switched banking institutions, it wasn't set up to transfer directly from the foundation to bond proceeds, and so we were kind of informed that it was necessary to go to local maintenance first, and then I think that may just be the account type, for that institution.
okay. Next is on page 12. I guess the top of 12 is maybe an email that maybe you referenced earlier. Isn't that something that's from a
This is from a memo that. So
Memo?
the transfers from the foundation to the college had a memo that showed that the foundation president, signed off on it, and it was. We included this one because we wanted to show the detail of, these are all construction funds that are set up, and then also it had a comment on there about, to pay the negative balance for construction as per Chris Sharp, so he would request to the foundation, hey, we need to use these funds that are set aside for construction, let's transfer those over.
sounds pretty desperate. I mean, it's a negative balance, so we need some money.
Right, I think that, yeah, they were needing to pay the construction contractors.
What was the date on that? Do you know when that was?
That was January 24th, 2025.
Okay. And I mean, obviously we never heard anything about the criticality of that at any point.
And that, yeah, just to be clear, I don't know if those transfers would have required the college's board approval. I think that because it's the foundation?
No, I'm not saying that necessarily. I'm just saying communication.
Okay, sure.
Yeah. And then the next one is on the 12 and 13 that was talking about the 3.6 million withdrew from auxiliary enterprise text pool account. And again, those were done unauthorized by the board. But yeah,
Yeah, those were the ones in June, July, August 2025. There was no more money from the bond proceeds account, so those needed to be moved over to pay the bills for the construction projects.
okay. On page 15 is the 100, we talk about the vendors and the 115 vendors and the 978 payments. Do we know that you said you verified that each of those went and were paid to the correct vendors?
Yeah, we looked at the bank statements, we've had the check images, after they're imaged and processed by the bank, so we were able to determine that the recipient, it's in the financials, the check rate matches with the check that was processed by.
And were each of those checks approved as work appropriate and adequately performed for the bond projects?
So we didn't review the payment applications. We looked at the payments, but we didn't get into the scopes of work as far as, the design documents and payment applications. But if they were paid, I assume there was a signed payment application, but we didn't actually look at the payment applications.
Okay. Bottom of 13 and 14 are the transfers from local maintenance funds. We've talked about this, and based on discussions with business office personnel, these transfers were sort of considered a loan. Do we have a balance for what that is? I mean, how much was basically loaned to the bond projects? And were there any loan documents prepared, or do we even know, is there any accounting that's being done for that?
So the net balance was the 951,000 was, the net of all these transactions was 951,000 was moved out of the local maintenance into the bond proceeds to cover short-term cash flow needs, but we didn't identify any loan documentation. It was, I think the intent was to replenish the funds, but that obviously hadn't happened as of, the date of this report, or at least as of the end of fiscal year 2025.
Okay. On page 28, 29, which will please everyone here, we're getting closer to the back. It's the projects themselves, that list of projects. All right, did I get that right? 28 or 29.
Yes, sir.
And this is the appendix D, which is.
Oh, yeah,
Which
there it is.
appendix
Yeah,
are you
appendix D, there it is. Yeah, appendix D, that's
Same thing
it.
as this chart.
D, it's at the very
It's
back.
just we expanded that, that row that has the combined other bond projects, just to fit it into a table. This is the full breakout.
Okay. Can we identify the project dates, like approval and completion? Like, I guess my real question probably is, are the ones towards the bottom, or were those the last projects that we did?
So the ones towards the bottom were not started. Those were ones that master plan that didn't get started.
The ones that are blank.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm talking about maybe the last one on there is the building B renovation. That was a $4 million project that turned to 11. that the last project we did, or they maybe a little more jumbled up in that?
Yeah, and there's some projects that get combined, you know, so I don't think we would be able to directly correlate those.
What do you think? Is that Sim Central? Is that building, was that in building B? Is that?
So
That's it, Sim.
I mean, looking at this total number of, we're around $111 million or something like that for the total projects, right? 100 million, 111.6.
That's the contracted amount, so I think we have, as of September 2025, we know that 108.2 million was expended. We haven't, I don't know if it's reached 111 yet, but that was they were under contract up to this 111, so there's like 3 million more that we don't know if it's been expended, but was under contract at that time.
And I mean, based on everything I'm reading, we basically had 90, instead of 89 million for the bond, we really had another, it was basically 95 million after interest and the CARES money for HVAC. Is that a good way to look at it?
Well, and then however the donations from
Foundation.
I'm gonna add the donations next, but basically, and then you add a $10 million donation from our foundation, would put us at about $105 million that were raised towards these projects. And so
well, yeah, the donations though are 5.6 million of that 10
so far, but we have those plans.
Yeah.
But I guess I'm trying to get to what do we really think ultimately we're taking out of our general funds, local maintenance funds appears to me to be around $6 to $7 million, somewhere in that neighborhood. But we've experienced way more than that in reduction of our reserves through this period. So, I mean, that's the difficult thing. I think we've got some timing issues to get through the foundation amounts to perhaps come in as they do. But right now, we're basically funding all of that until all those funds come in. Am I confusing things? Perhaps. I'm just trying to get a sense of how much do we really spend out of local maintenance funds? And that's really where I'm trying to get to ultimately.
That's about 10 to 11 million.
Right now.
Some of those that you mentioned, like the CARES Act, even though those were approved by the board, those still moved out of local maintenance to the bond program. So that's still.
Yeah, but not necessarily funded by our internal operations that out of a, I guess, our regular budget.
College receives the 19 million and the board can allocate those. And so, but they're there in local maintenance and then they're not, right? Then they could have been used. You know, but that's approved by the board, so there's not an issue with that, but it is impacting the reserves when they get transferred.
Okay. So can I ask one question about that? Just since that was removed taken out of reserves, the CARES Act funds, what additional amounts? Is it just the auxiliary enterprise and the local maintenance, those two together, that make up the rest of the reserves? So if we say how much of the reserves were used, we know that 4 million was from the CARES fund.
Right.
But those that weren't authorized by the board, was it additional what? Maybe.
So it's the 4 million from CARES, the 3.6 million from auxiliary enterprises. It's the reimbursement from the EA grants of 1.5 million. It's the transfers from local maintenance, 951,000.
Okay, so those.
And so those, 8.6, 9.1, that gets you 10.1 million.
I think that covers it generally for me. You know, other than, you know, if we want to have a more information or more of a of an idea of how we can get some resource that would help us in determining how we would improve our
For the future.
our controls going forward. Yes.
Can I ask another question?
Yes.
So on the Danny Smith contract, the second and third, they really weren't called amendments. The two changes that weren't documented, where after 1 year he went up 5%, after year two, after the second year he went up 3%. How is that? What's the function in the business office for how they would start paying those increases? I mean, there wasn't a contract. There wasn't a writing as far as I know. Was there just an invoice from Danny, or is that how it worked? And is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Travis?
and on the appendix C, I think, it has all of the invoices and payments.
Payments, yeah.
So if you would invoice for every payment?
Right. Yeah, he had the invoices were numbered 1 through 64 on appendix C, and then each invoice was paid.
Appendix C.
Mm-hmm.
One time there was a $70,000
Yeah,
invoice.
I know. And that would go to somebody in the business office to pay? I mean, did Chris get it and then tell somebody, pay Danny $70,000 this month? Is that how it worked?
So it would go to accounts payable, and I think if, this is hypothetical, but if the CFO, submitted them as these are authorized to pay, then I think that would initiate the payment process. So I assume that he forwarded them along and said that these are approved invoices and to go ahead and issue the payment.
So the people in the business office, did they ever see the contracts themselves, the other people in the business office?
I don't know if they saw the amendments. If they did, they may have assumed that they were approved by the board, but that's, I don't know. I don't know if they if they saw those or not.
Well, would this rise to the level of sort of remarkable if the payments went from 14,000 to 50,000 and 70,000? I mean, would somebody notice that and say, what's happening here? I mean, why is this guy getting paid so much? I mean.
Good question.
And there could have been some discussions about, we're restructuring. We don't know the answer, but
Yeah,
there, very well may have been discussions about this was a restructuring of the contract. That's, it has a contract with Chris Sharp's signature on it. Presumably it's authorized based on that, but yeah, I don't know what conversation took place.
would Danny email those invoices to Chris? How did they get into the business office?
I'm not sure. I don't think they showed up in emails at all. So
Just paper?
potentially could have been an email directly to a specific email that the business office had. We're just not sure.
That you didn't have? So there could be emails from the business office that you didn't see?
Potentially.
It also could have been an electronic invoice because they're direct deposits, aren't they?
I think that there's an accounts payable, like when we submit our invoice, I think it goes to an accounts payable email account. So there could have been something like that.
Because it came out of different accounts.
The payments are gonna be represented up in,
This check number.
appendix B, and payments to Mr. Smith were pre-debited, so.
Yeah.
There's no
good
actual
point.
check that it was electronically being deposited. What this would indicate.
But somehow somebody had to know what was gonna be paid. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it
Right.
doesn't just happen.
Two of them are out of different accounts. Well,
Anything else right now?
I appreciate.
It's plausible. You're an employee in a business office. Your CFO presents to you an invoice that says this is authorized for payment. And if there is a signed document that backs that up, as a frontline accounts payable clerk that's going to be processing that for on behalf of the institution, you're going to have reasonable belief in the structure that exists there that says that's a legitimate payment. And while even if there's a significant increase, to that person who's processing checks, and understand a clerk in a business office I mean, there's a lot of checks going out. And so by the time you get to that point, you are absolutely data entry and sending, you're just looking at signed by the CFO and off it goes. I mean, because they're at that point, their task is largely to process. And you know, the assumption would have been that's a legitimate increase by somebody in that position. At least that's my opinion.
Well, that is the type of thing that an internal audit function is designed to identify, because they do trend analysis. So if there's things, in real time and, testing to see if contracts in support of invoices are, present and properly authorized, those are.
Well, being that they were AHS debits, it could have been just an automatic thing. I mean, it was going to happen. I mean, stuff that come out of my checking account automatically every month.
Well, but that assumed that I agree with that, except for the fact that these are not always consistent.
Different amounts.
At some point, when it was a flat monthly rate, you're right. But when you get different amounts that are going out, somebody somewhere is having to enter that into the transaction.
But wouldn't you think that there would be some type of process or policy in place if there's an invoice at a certain dollar threshold, above that threshold, maybe it is a set approval?
Wouldn't contest that. I'm just saying, to his point.
We have that 50,000.
When you have repetitive, flat, same amount, month after month, or bi-weekly after bi-weekly, it yes, it can be set up automatically and it just goes, but when you have varying amounts, then.
Yeah, there's a lot of variance.
John, we have a $50,000 limit that's supposed to come for approval.
Was it 50?
It's currently 50.
50, yeah.
It's falling just under that. Is it falling just under that?
Oh, one of them was 70.
Yeah.
Beginning in March of 23, you notice if you're looking at Appendix C, the amounts are changing.
All over the place. Sometimes 2 a month, I believe.
Instead of invoice.
Right.
I mean,
But
so the
again,
more they cost, the more they cost, the
somebody
better.
somewhere was having to enter each transaction.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, so the contract basically that he negotiated or renegotiated without authority was actually against the college. It was not for the college. I mean, the more the thing costs, the more he would make. Which is the reason why, and I mean, he was here whenever we were having those discussions. He knew that our intent was to have a fixed.
No incentive for him to control costs.
Right. None.
Yeah, absolutely.
So did the 3% actually match
Might be
up
worth asking that question.
what was coming through?
Yeah, I think.
Was that legit in there?
I think that there was the invoice calculated the monthly expenditures and then, calculated it, but I mean, and we have seen a lot of government entities, when there's bond projects, there's a question of, do you have a third party program manager and, they charge a fee of 3, 4, 5%. And, there is that incentive question about, well, then they're incentivized with a higher cost. But there's also benefits if you don't have that value and expertise in-house, then,
What I've seen is when there is a percentage, it's typically tied to a fixed, an amount, what they could consider a guaranteed max. So at the beginning of that percentage contract, there's a maximum set that says, we'll pay you a percentage, but only of the guaranteed max. And so if you come in less, you pay less, but you're guaranteed never to pay more than that G max. And so that's how I've seen these kind of contracts structured when there's a percentage involved. Otherwise, you're right, you want to negotiate a flat monthly rate because that controls your cost, at least to the project manager.
That's what we did.
But you really only have two strategies to cap your cost to the project manager.
Another question.
Either negotiate a flat monthly rate, or you agree to a percentage, but it's tied to a G max.
Annette?
I just want to say thank you for pulling this together, because I think this has been an excellent report of information that we were frankly misled about. So to that point, maybe this question is to our council, not to you. Are there legal repercussions here?
Perhaps.
If you want to answer that, you can.
They're not legal. They're not going to do that at all. Not attorney hats tonight.
So I'll say perhaps, and I think that the board will consult with legal counsel separately at another time on that various point to explore all of the board's options. I don't think we'll do that tonight, but we need to do that in closed session probably soon, and to explore all of our options.
I'd be in favor of that.
Yeah, I think we should have a special meeting pretty soon, not wait till the March meeting, which already has a full agenda. So special meeting, get Kenneth Natardis to be here for us and to go through what our legal remedies are. And, so we can evaluate with counsel.
I agree.
Yep.
Last question.
Yes.
This was posed to me from the community. They were questioning the shredding boxes that were shred, and us finding ourselves in this situation, and then there was paper that was shredded. Did any of that have anything to do with financials?
No.
No. Totally unrelated.
Okay.
That's something that happens every year, and it's nothing to do with that. Nobody. Yeah, I appreciate that question.
It's just our regular document retention cycle.
Yeah.
If you need a motion for approval, I will make that motion.
I think that after discussion, it says the board may wish to approve the audit report. So Annette will make that motion. And okay, Dave, thank you for that. And any other discussion?
And
Okay.
we will still have access to these folks for other, if we do have other questions, or maybe want to ask you, some other thoughts of ideas. And I've got different ideas on what we might do for controls, and we want to make sure we do this right. So
Yeah, we're happy to be a
Great.
resource.
But Johnny, were you wanting to put this off? Or was it the other audit? that
well,
we're-
I didn't know that y'all would bear with me for all of my questions. So fine with this one. So that's fine.
Okay. So motion has been made and seconded. All in favor of the motion to accept this audit report, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed with no? That motion carries unanimously. Travis and Blake, thank you so much for your time. It's very enlightening, and we look forward to any other conversations we might need to have with you. Thank you.
Thanks for
Appreciate
the
it.
opportunity.
All right. Next up, item number 15, financial reports. Ms. Tiffany Crossley, this item is placed on the agenda so that the board may review the financial statements for December 31, 2025, as well as the monthly financial report, which are attached on pages 8 through 22. Tiffany.
Okay. So this is going to be the financial report through December 31st, 2025. Okay, remind me how you make it go. Okay, there we go. Okay, so you're going to notice that this variance report looks a little different. So let me explain to you what I'm trying to do here. So for those that see reports often or that work here, realize that what we budget for versus some of the actual things that come in don't always align one-to-one. So last month when looking at the report, I realized that we did not have grant revenue included on this analysis for you because it is not something that we budget since grants are cyclical different. So we've added that line item to the bottom of the revenue where it says grant revenue, and there's not a budget line there. So this will help us when you're looking at this analysis, you'll be able to tie these back to your actual financial statements that you're receiving every month. So those variants, the actual columns, the grand totals at the bottom match the actual financial statements that you have, which they did not last month because of the grants. So I'm just going to highlight some of the large changes on these. So your investment income, that first column is your 24-25 original budget that was approved by the board. That second column that says actual is your 24-25. So through December 2024, those are your actuals in your revenue category.
So that's a year-to-date number, not an
Correct.
actual total.
Correct.
Okay.
And then you go to your 25-26 original budget that was approved by the board. And then your actual year to date is that December 31st, 2025 or your fiscal year 26 budget. So your year over year changes are comparing your actual from last year and your actual of this year. So like tax revenue is up $2 million from last year. That's a 19% increase. More than likely, that's timing. You'll see that play out as December is when we normally start getting property tax revenue in, but depending on who pays them early versus not. That usually ends about February when penalties start. So then your investment income is up $257,000 from last year. That's market value. So that's your big change there. In your miscellaneous income, you see a drop of $4.5 million. This is really due to where we brought the money over from AC Foundation throughout the year. We put it in miscellaneous income for the college because it was money brought over from a different component unit to us. So that it makes up 3.9 million of that difference. There were also gifts that were moved over from the AC Foundation to Amarillo College last year. Through December, $450,000 was for a new healthcare simulation that was money provided from a donor, and $175,000 was for the EMS program. So then if you'll go now down to the expense section, for travel, you can notice that travel is still down. It's down $66,430 from this time last year. So this is where it gets a little squirrely. Capital equipment and other department expenses, the way we put it on the financial statements is different than how it's presented in the board. So this is where you get to the capitalization threshold and when we tag and track assets. And so what we consider capital equipment whenever you go to the board and give them your budget isn't necessarily hit that threshold for us to capitalize it on the book side. So it's that $5,000, $10,000 mark where we put a tag and we depreciate. So last month we provided a lot of this number in other department expenses because that's how we roll it up. But actually for budget purposes, it was put on the capital equipment section. So your capital equipment includes truck purchases. So anything that IT is purchasing, for the infrastructure of IT, also all of the furniture, equipment, that kind of stuff that's being purchased. The decrease of the $7,158,794 is from professional fees from last year for architect fees. So those were capitalized with the projects. We don't have those same costs this year. In your other department expenses, those are up $1.1 million. And those include encumbrances from last year. So anything that we had a PO outstanding at the end of August, but we hadn't actually finished receiving all of the goods and paying for them, those items are down here. Along with our professional fees are up $620,000 through December, and our software maintenance is also up about $12,000. So, as I said on the bottom with your grand totals, you'll notice for the end of 24-25, so December of 24, we were over in revenue by $7,962,981. And at the end of this year, we're actually positive by $11,587,168. So we're looking better than we did at this time last year. All of that will tie to your financial statements that you have in the back of your packet. Okay, so the next page is your operating cash flows. So as of 12/31, you'll see the chart at the bottom is what we've been providing every month. This is the operating cash that we have, and then all the extra buckets that we have presented to you every month. So at the end of December 2025, we had $14,590,541 in our local maintenance and payroll accounts for operating expenses. On this monthly cash flow, we had last year, in December, we had an inflow of about $22 million, which you can see is the bright blue line, where we had an inflow in December of this year of about 18 million. So just a little bit different. That's probably related to those property taxes. If you'll look at your outflows are the orange for last year. The outflows were about $11 million through December of last year, and we were at 8.8 million for December of this year. So we've actually been sending out less this year than we did last year. All right, and
Before you leave that, can I ask questions now, or do you want me to wait till you're done?
Questions now?
What are we projecting cash flow going forward? This is looking, 2 months ago now, almost. So, when is our next big bond payment?
February. We paid it February 15th.
And how much was that?
Between 8 and 11 million. Don't quote me.
So, yeah, I just think a number like that should be anticipated. We know what it is. We should be able to anticipate what are our projected cash flow needs. And just so we all can have an understanding of that. So I think it's great that we're starting this, but I think we'll need to continue to refine and get more, mature our reporting so that we all can kind of see what's going on.
Correct. And we're working right now on building out the model to our monthly cash flow. We have done yearly cash flows projections for the next 5 years and anticipating our reserves being built up to the $25 million level. And we're working on getting the monthly one. So we should have that to you all soon. And then we would be able to start reporting that monthly as well. Absolutely.
And when do we close a month?
Typically it's the 6th working day. If the holiday falls in there, sometimes it can delay a little bit, but it's the 6th working day. We have to close out the bookstore. We have to make sure that all of that stuff takes place, plus any accruals we have, credit card payments that are going out. So, like coming up, we'll close the month on March the 9th.
Just wondering, would it be possible that instead of seeing December data, we'd see January data at this meeting. So basically, we're not 2 months behind. We're just, basically a couple of weeks behind.
We could probably do that for the cash flow side, but when it comes to the financial statement side, it takes too long to prepare those. It usually takes another 7 days after close to get those solidified and approved. It's a manual process. Our system doesn't generate them for us.
But that's something else that's on our list, that as we improve our systems, that's another goal, is that we can get that more timely.
Good, thank you.
Okay, and so then here are the financial matrix that we've been providing for the last several months. So your net assets have grown, which is a good thing. So we started off presenting to the board in September, or the September net assets, which were at 59.1. At the end of December, we're at 61.3. So they're growing steady. Our net position went from in September, we were at 58.7 and we're at 60.8 by the end of December. So we're going in the right direction on this one as well. On current ratio, we are striving to get to 1.5 to 2. So that way we can, because 1 just shows that we can cover this month's bills. So we have gone from 1.33 in September to 1.47 at the end of December. So positive trajectory on this one. We're really close to being able to turn this to green, that we're going in the right direction. And then on our debt ratio, we started at 0.79 and we're at 0.78. Our goal is to get to 0.5 on the debt ratio. But with us not having much debt beyond the bond, then it takes us paying those debt payments down in order to change a lot on this debt ratio. Does anyone have any questions?
What, I have another question. If I can remember it. Oh, let's see. What was it? My apologies. Keep going. Keep going.
I'm finished.
Oh, you're done? Yeah. Oh, this is it. What can you tell me on our line of credit that we have? Can you tell me where do we stand on that? Do we owe anything on that?
No, I can, nope. So we took out the line of credit. I approved the $2 million on October 14th. We received our state payment, I believe, the evening of October 15th. We returned it by October 17th without utilizing it to make any payments. It was prime -1, and I think we estimated the interest we paid on those couple of days holding it, just in case, was between $1,200 and $1,500 maybe, just as that safeguard.
Interest rates prime
-1. Yes, sir.
Excellent, thank you. And we haven't had to draw on it since?
Correct.
And I mean, look, to me, I go back to this, even looking at this, at our audit report, the forensic audit on that graph that shows how our flows are. I mean, they even mentioned this is a seasonal cash business, if you will. And typically, I think most businesses have a line of credit to kind of help during certain seasons. And so this is the first time I've seen that way, and it really highlighted it for me to just say, it makes some sense to maybe have something as a, for reserve, especially with where we were. I don't know that we'll ever need it again. I hope we don't. But the point is I think it was more clear once I saw that graph.
And then this month, it was late.
We still have not
The money.
The revenue, our revenue payment from the state.
Late and lower than.
They do set when they're supposed to come, but then things can happen where they need to delay it.
And you mentioned 25% is what we're getting this time.
Yes, from the state. So it's about 4.6 million.
And so in the fall, we got
10.5. It's just under 25%.
Is that how it worked in the fall? So they will make up another 25% when?
June.
June.
Any other questions of Tiffany? I'll entertain a motion concerning our financials.
Move approval.
Okay, David, second?
Sorry, you're not gonna do anything on our actuals?
I was not going to unless you want me to.
The only thing is, we still don't have the reserve report.
We do not, as we're gonna work on getting the right presentation to you, but I'm working with Dr. Connor on that, so. we will
Correct,
have
because
something.
right now, if you go back, the cash that we're showing you and the operating, for all intents and purposes, that's the cash that we have.
The 11 million.
The 14.6 million as far as just our operating cash. Now, as of last Friday, because Tiffany sends me a report every week, we're at 28.8 million. And this was through the end of December. But with our plan of dropping at least $5 million by the end of this year, that will be moving into our fund balance, then we have separate reserve versus cash that then we can be doing much more in-depth reporting on that.
So at this point, that number is our total cash position, essentially. There's no real, what we have in the past always had as a reserve.
Yes, sir.
It's all right there. Okay.
In that 14 million.
Yes, which is 28.8 million right now. But again, as it's cyclical, we'll be getting in our revenues. And then at some point, we won't be seeing as many revenues coming in and we'll start spending that down. But that's all in that budget projection that we gave for this year to land at the 5 million. That's already been anticipated and incorporated.
And that's after the 28 that we're at now is after the February 15th bond payment.
When did yes, yeah, it would be, because that's not part of our local maintenance money. We've got it in the bond interest and sinking, or the bond interest and sinking, and that's where we pay our debt payment out of. So no, it's not in that.
So you would be able on these monthly reports to see that column for bond interest and sink, and you'll see that grow. And then you'll see every time we make a payment, you'll see that'll decrease as payments are made.
Thank you.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded by Net. Any other questions, discussions? All in favor of approval of our financial report, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any disagree, say no. All right, that motion carries. All right, let's move on to item 16, the purchase of HSI STEM funded equipment. Ms. Holly Hoffman is here tonight to talk to us about this great equipment that we got, that we're
Yes.
approving.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good evening. I'm the HSI STEM Grant Director, and I am here to request approval to purchase OBGYN simulation equipment with grant funds for our West Campus. The narrative for this item is as follows. Amarillo College's Health Science Simulation Center seeks to expand its simulation experiences to support OBGYN training for students. This equipment includes the following: ultrasound simulator base unit, software and components, OBGYN first trimester package and transvaginal transducer and components, GYN package 1, let's try that one again. Subserosal fibroid, submucosal fibroid, polycystic ovarian syndrome, ovarian torsion, ovarian teratoma, intrauterine contraceptive device or an IUD, and endometrial cancer. The OBGYN simulation equipment will enhance instructional quality and support enrollment growth by providing hands-on simulation learning experiences. The OBGYN simulator will be purchased from Elevate Healthcare utilizing the Sourcewell contract number 011822-CAE and Sourcewell member ID 155376 in the amount of $77,268.07. Any questions or concerns?
What is the Sourcewell contract?
The Sourcewell contract is, I believe it, and this may be a question for the business office, not for me, but I understand it is we have certain groupings of how we purchase things. And it just makes things, I guess, more efficient for the college and cheaper in some instances.
It's probably a co-op.
Okay, got it.
Co-op.
And co-op agreement?
Funded through a grant, the STEM grant?
Yeah, the grant will pay for it. Yes.
Move for approval.
Okay, Paul, second, Johnny. Any questions, discussion? All in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with no? All right, that motion carries. Thank you. Next up, 17, item 17, update price change, purchase of equipment and supplies for CDL simulator. And you're not Miss Jackie Jones, but I think you're Denise. You're standing in for her. Okay.
Yes, I'll stand out in the crowd. Thank you.
Okay.
The board approved spending $122,000 for a CDL simulator for the Moore County campus during the January board meeting. Subsequently, Moore County leadership opted to add an extended warranty in the amount of $7,400 and an installation fee for $3,700. The additional $12,777 will be paid out of Moore County's institutional funds. The purchase is through the Sourcewell contract. And again, that's a purchasing contract that we had to get better prices. And for the amount of $133,100, and the quote is on page 23. $120,323 will be paid by Perkins, approved in the January board meeting, and $12,777 will be paid by Moore County institutional funds.
Move for approval.
Yeah. Who has a second? Sorry. Okay, Peggy, thank you. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion? So all in favor of this motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with no? All right, thank you. That motion carries. Number 18, request for approval, KAC TV Panhandle PBS Grant Award Acceptance. Mr. Kevin Ball is here to tell us the good news.
Thank you. First of all, Ally, I'd like to mention that in here, there's a number of areas that say KACT TV and it's KACV. So if we could get that corrected and make sure that that's correct for everything. But I will go ahead and read them. This item is placed on the agenda to approve the resolution attached at page 24 to accept a grant that was awarded to KACV TV Panhandle PBS in the amount of $737,075 from the Public Media Company PMC, which includes funding for capital equipment upgrade that support critical technical infrastructure, maintenance, and broadcast operations for the grant period 12/1/25 through 11/30/26. $442,245 or 60% of the grants were awarded to KACV TV Panhandle PBS in December of 25. All grant funds must be utilized for upgrades by 11/30/26 as outlined in the Public Media Bridge Fund Agreement of 12/1/25. The grantee primary contact is me, Kevin Ball, CEO at KACV TV Panhandle PBS. In order to receive the final $294,830 or 40% of the grant funds, Panhandle PBS requests approval from the AC Board of Regents to proceed with the acceptance of the grant.
Move for approval.
Second.
Motion, that was John. Okay, motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Okay, no discussion. We're gonna go, do it. Hey.
Trying to find where it was. I had it printed out and I don't see it, but there were certain conditions and so
Yes,
forth that were.
it's all in that document on page 24, yes. And they have, we have a coach from that grant and everything. I've already met with the coach. These are private funds that PBS has. This isn't government money whatsoever. It's from funds that they've raised, and they walk us through every bit of this. And I've got the approval for the technology upgrades.
Okay. All right, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed with no? All right, that motion carries. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's wonderful news. I don't believe there's a reason for a closed meeting session tonight. Is that right?
No urgent reason. I know we need to have one soon as
Could be
Forsato.
anything we
mentioned.
do would be in that special meeting that we call.
Well, I don't know what this was for.
I think it's in there in case we needed it for
Well, I
anything.
didn't know how long the presentations would go tonight. So legal matters possibly arising out of the forensic audit, we can discuss those in closed session. I didn't know if you want to do it tonight or another time.
We need more preparation.
So we'll delay that until the next time, perhaps at the special meeting.
We're gonna have a special meeting.
Yes, yes.
Set a date for that?
No,
We'll start working on it right away.
I think tomorrow at noon. I mean, it'll be soon, probably next week. Yeah, spring break's coming up. Yeah.
Next exec is during spring break.
Oh, no, it's not. It probably won't be.
I mean, it's scheduled.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, we'll look, yeah.
So we're going to jump to item number 20 and I'll entertain a motion.
That's for adjournment.
Except for adjournment, Irene and Annette, and meeting is adjourned. Thank you all very much.